Should we need
Yeah.
mosquito day? Okay, one more minute. There we go. Welcome to the BOCC for July 14th. And then pledge allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Welcome to the BOCC meeting for July 14th. Agenda approval.
Make a motion to approve the agenda.
Second. Second, call for the vote.
Commissioner Will?
Yes.
Commissioner Chang?
Yes.
Yes.
Motion passes.
On consent agenda.
On today's agenda, I have the meeting minutes from July 7th, and I have the green sheet for Kim Trujillo, which is Senate resignation. Thank you, Kim.
Make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
First and second, any discussion? Call for the vote.
Commissioner Chang?
Yes.
Commissioner Will?
Yes.
Commissioner Whitaker?
Yes.
Motion passes.
On to appointments. Jade.
Oh, great job.
Perfect.
Perfect, not me.
Wow.
I did. Good.
That is classic.
I apologize.
No worries. Both Carls were late today.
So I did want to give these to you guys real quick. So as you have probably talked to Josh numerous times, Jade Communications is a local internet and phone and security provider. And we just turned on our first customer here in Luxembourg yesterday, which is amazing. And we're hoping to do a lot of business with you all. But one of the things I wanted to touch on specifically today.
Could you just real quick state your name and
Oh, yes, I'm sorry.
the mic for the
I'm Bridget Spencer with Jade Communications. Do you need me to spell my name out? Okay. Some people do. The given fires and everything that we've been dealing with, Jade does what is called a first responders network. What we do is any type of first responder, we verify their email, and then we allow them free access to a special network that we have created. So in an emergency, if their equipment goes down, the phone lines are busy, they can jump onto a dedicated network to get the communication back and forth to the people that need the net. We've seen helicopter pilots going over Forbes and Lomita Pass have service at 10,000 feet, which is really cool. How this is based and how it operates is every Jade customer is going to be its own little hotspot. So the more customers in an area, the better the network is going to be for the first responders. I currently work with the Lomita Fire Department on their stuff. Great group of people there. And I didn't even see you there. If it was you, I would have just called you Henri. And I want to bring that same service and dedication here to Walsenburg for your first responders as well. And I figured this was the best place to start, is letting you guys know that that's what we do. Any questions for me?
Yeah, I do. One question. For your definition of first responders, do you include dispatchers?
As far as I know, yes, we do. It's a very simple process that we ask for the name, title, and government or entity email. So we can verify, because of course we don't want to just give everybody and our brother free access. But as he can probably tell you, it has come in handy a few times. And especially with the situation right now, knock on wood, it's all over. But if we need it, we have it. All right?
Awesome.
Thank you so much.
Thank
You're
you.
welcome.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Um, Spanish Peaks Airfield.
You want me to stand at the podium or sit at the table?
Wherever.
Either way, we've got
Yeah.
Mike over here
Are you
too.
gonna put that presentation up on the screen, Carl? I don't know if I can see it all the way back there.
Yeah,
Paul Ansel, I'm with Bolton Mink. I'm doing good. How about yourself, Commissioner?
He's up there. Yeah, what's it? There.
So good morning, Commissioners. Good morning, staff. Again, my name is Paul Ansel. I'm with Bolton Mink. Bolton Mink was hired to do two things, actually three things. We did a marketing study last year, looked at your lease rates and now analyzed your leases. What followed from that was this marketing study and CIP. This is the marketing study piece. The CIP will be finished in September when Bolton and Mink, the city and the airport meet with the FAA and CDOT and look towards getting money for your CIP over the next several years. Carl, next slide. So part of the marketing plan is a semi-long document, but the way I broke it down for this presentation is in three parts. We're going to do development and infrastructure, communication. I can't, for whatever reason, I'm drawing a blank on the third one. I'll remember what it is here in a second. So the thing about Spanish Peaks Airport, and one part of the report talks about officially making sure that it says it's airport in all documents, and it kind of walks through the process of how to do that. And the reason we want to do that is aviation is it's actually worldwide, but for airports, it's sort of your size, it's nationwide. You have planes flying across country right over top of your airport every day. And we want to draw those planes in to use your services. And as a former pilot, if you see airfield, subconsciously you think it's private, there's no services, I don't want to land there. And being a former pilot, I can say this very clearly, pilots are lazy. We're going to do the easiest thing we can do to make our flights across country, across town, whatever thing. So we want to make sure that it's easy for them to come in and use your airport. So your business is basically general aviation, happy flying, just sort of for a hobby. Some businesses, doctors, oil people, ranchers are coming in and using it. So that's really where our focus wants to be. I mean, it would be great if I says, we're going to get you a MRO, which is a maintenance facility that's going to work on planes. That would be fantastic, but highly unlikely. So if you focus your efforts on your most likely customer, I think you're going to be most successful in that manner. One of the top priorities of an airport is what it looks like and what it feels like. I think you've got a key location being right off the I-25 corridor. you've got the runway length that can handle almost all turboprops, that's the propeller plane, and small business jets. You get a little bit challenging in the medium business jet piece, but there's also in your master plan an opportunity to expand the runway. So again, all these things tie in with CIP and growth. But as we're moving forward, you want your airport, so the infrastructure piece of this, to look as good as you can. So we're going to talk about the perimeter fence, which is both a safety concern and a security concern from wild animals, right? If a coyote or a deer gets on the airfield, it hits a plane, you have a very high likely loss of life. So because you don't have a full perimeter fence, you've got the wildlife risk, but you've also got a security risk. The other thing we talked about in this marketing plan is what the market is, not only here in Huerfano County in Colorado, but pretty much nationwide. The 80s and 90s, the GA market, that's general aviation market, was Cessna 172s. It dominated the market. And you could go out as a mom and pop, husband and wife, two partners, and buy a 172 for 40, 50, depending on the avionics, maybe $100,000. That market is rapidly declining, and the number one aircraft for sale is a Cirrus S-22. That's $970 to start. So that's $1 million investment. So as we look at going from the mom and pop, the husband and wife flying a $40,000 plane to a doctor, a lawyer, a businessman, a family man that doesn't want to take his family to Colorado Springs or Denver and fly commercial, that the Cirrus is that market. So we need to up the game of your airport to attract those people. So that perimeter fence provides security from the wildlife, but also gives them security knowing that if they're going to put their plane there either overnight, which you can charge rent for and make revenue for the airport, or if he decides, you know what, I really like this airport, I really like this town, I've got a ranch out in the, in the hills, I'd like to build a hangar. That's going to weigh in their decision on whether they want to spend that money and build the hangar and put their plane there. So I think that's key. The second part, and it wasn't in the report, but it's just from my own personal knowledge and experiences, there's two types of secure gates, and they're called, personnel gates, right? You can go in and type in a 4 or 5 digit code, the door opens, and that's it. What I will tell you is that's better than nothing, but within a year, everybody in this county and all the way to Denver will have that code. As a matter of fact, across the nation, because if you're going to fly in here, someone's going to tell you the code, they're going to put it out on a tweet, and all those things are going to work together. So a little extra money, and it'll be in your CIP, your fencing project, to get the card reader things, because that tells you who came in, when they came in, when they left, gives you just a higher sense of security. So those are some key points to from the infrastructure piece. The other one, and I brought this up at the tenant meeting, and I drove down here today. I think you guys are all familiar with your amazing sign that says Spanish Peaks Country. I showed my son, and he thinks it's a dinosaur. Today when I drove by it, I go, it does look like a dinosaur.
I know.
I brought it up, and I did some research. Apparently that was a grant from the tourist board. Couldn't find out when, but I do believe Huerfano County owns it. I would love to see that sign move down to the exit where the airport is and put Spanish Peaks Airport. Because when I drove by it today, I saw that sign and I laughed and thought about my son. And then I drove by the exit for the airport and I didn't even see the sign that says airport. I was thinking about the airport, right? I'm coming down here to talk about it. Think about that curb appeal when you're, buying a house or selling a house. You want the grass cut up front, you want the bushes trimmed, you want the fresh paint. What that does is says Spanish Peaks Airport is right here, and then you exit off, go under the freeway. There needs to be some more signage coming in to sort of wayfind all the way in. Again, most people are going to be able to find it because if they're looking for the airport, they know it's east of the runway. But again, you're talking about having an Uber driver pick somebody up that's going to spend the night, somebody that wants to start coming in and say, hey, I'm landing, tells his friend, come pick him up. We want to get that excitement about coming into Spanish Peaks Airport. And if at all possible, I think it would be the most awesome thing you could do, probably relatively low cost, is move that sign and put it to say Spanish Peaks Airport. Right there's your monument sign going to the airport. The follow on to that is if you go back to that model of who's flying in general aviation in the high dollar vehicles and the high dollar planes, your front door Saturday is a gravel road. And I know because I'm paving my driveway here at the end of the month, and it's like shocking, and it's only 400 feet long. So I understand the cost. But again, that's something that if we could figure out, whether it's through your CIP or through the county, finding funds to be able to pave that road, that's going to improve the curb appeal of your airport to visitors coming in and ultimately spending money. Because the other thing is, when you talk about airports, it's not they fly into the airport, they eat at the airport, they sleep at the airport, and they fly home. All the money that those planes and passengers bring in when they land at the airport comes back to the county, right? They're going to rent a car, they're going to buy lunch, they're going to stay in a hotel. Like they're going to spend money, and that's where a lot of money up front, but a reasonable amount of money. How about that? To attract people to your airport is going to then ultimately add value to your airport in the long run. General appearance. So we're kind of talking about that now. We talked about the signage coming in, the dirt road. Repeatedly at previous tenant meetings, to include the one we attended less than a month ago, self-fueling is a big deal, especially at this airport, so you don't have a full service FBO. So when a plane comes in and lands, or a tenant pulls his bird out of his hangar, they go to what's called a self-fuel. So it's like the gas station, right? Nobody comes out, fills your tank up. You do it yourself. Apparently, there's many problems with the self-fueling, which there's a retract wire that doesn't work. There's other things. So in a general appearance, your airport's in very good shape, your runway, your conditions and stuff, but small things like that, because that's the center of your business for your airport, is people buying that fuel. We need to take a look at what it's going to take to get the right system in place so that people can come in, buy the appropriately priced fuel. And again, that'll pay for itself over time as people start talking about, we're going to talk about kind of a buzz about your airport here in a slide or two. We want to create that buzz at your airport. And if people come in, they get a good tank of gas, a couple of tenants walk over, start talking to them about what a great airport it is, and then they leave, they're going to land somewhere else. And they're going to tell somebody, hey, when you're flying back to California, land at Spanish Peak Airport. It is a great little airport. People are friendly, good gas prices, and everything looks great. The final thing I'll talk about kind of on infrastructure and general appearances, and I know it's been discussed, but you have that building on the north side of the runway that basically just needs to be torn down. So I think, again, everything costs money, and I understand that there's priority, but again, as we're sort of looking at a holistic view of your entire airport, that's one thing that we should do, is get that torn down, make it look nice. Again, just bring the value and the holistic curb appeal of your airport up. Finally, as part of that growth that we're talking about and that visitors that we want to validate the demands for new hangars by updating and creating a waiting list. Man, that's hard to see, Carl. Is there any way you can make it bigger? So again, one of the things about, because I talk to developers all over the country. I was just in North Carolina. I'm going to Oklahoma in 2 weeks. That's a little bit better. Yeah.
Next to the in call one. And then just read. And then there's scripts goes out of it.
So while she's trying to do that, and I appreciate that, Carl. Getting old is tough. We want to validate that waiting list, and we're going to talk about how to do that. But basically, a developer that would come in and build a hangar not only for himself, but a lot of times they'll build 2 hangars or a larger hangar so that people can come in and lease. right now, there's not a great waiting list that we can track. So if someone said, hey, Paul, I hear Huerfano County's got a paved road, they got a great monument sign, we're excited, let's go build. But they're not going to spend, and by the way, a basic 40 by 40 hanger is about $500,000 these days. So if you think about an investor or developer building a hangar, he needs a tenant list, right? So he's going to start going through that waiting list and call, hey, I'm going to build a hangar. Are you interested? How much? Oh, sorry, can't afford. He's going to go through that list. So we need to validate that waiting list, and we're going to talk about updating that here in a minute. I can see that now. So whatever you did, thank you very much. And next slide. So communication kind of walks through everything, right? Infrastructure, you need to get your tenants talking to visitors, the county talking to people who are flying in and buying gas. So one of the things we want to do is really focus on communication throughout all of our steps that we're doing. But we really want to do, and actually it has occurred, and I was at one of the meetings here last month, is establish an airport advisory board. The great thing about an airport advisory board is ultimately they don't make decisions. The county commissioners still retain that authority. I think that's a great model. That's what we had at Rocky Mountain Metro, and it works out really well. The other thing it does is it brings in people who have a vested interest in your airport. You have your tenants and businesses who want the airport to succeed, want it to be better. They have the passion, they have the time, they have the knowledge that then can come and advise the commissioners on, yeah, what Paul said was great, but we think you need to do this also, or what Paul said was wrong, and we think you should do this instead. And it just gives you feedback. So the fact that the county has already done that and is actively participating in it, I think is a great thing for your airport. Again, that's only going to make your airport better as we go through time. We talked about this actually in our first market analysis. We want to get development in, right? And the way we're going to get development is we need to establish a leasing policy and minimum standards. If someone's going to build beyond their own hangar, but they're looking to invest as a business, they really need to know what the rules are going to be, how it's going to be set. So a leasing policy is a relatively simple document that the county could create so that a business director could come in and say, you know, we're going to spend $2 million at your airport. I know what that policy is going to be. I can figure out what that's going to mean to me in the future. And more importantly, the minimum standards set what it says, minimum standards to run any type of business. So if they want to run a maintenance facility, or if someone wanted to come in and start the FBO, it creates a framework of what they know they're going to go against. Because what you see in airports, and as your airport's going to grow, and trust me, it will grow. Aviation's growing, it's getting stronger, it's spreading out from Denver, going north and south. Businesses want to come here and will want to come here, and they're going to say, well, if I'm going to be business type, maybe it's a flight school. Well, I need to know that if I spend and build a terminal with a classroom and a simulator, and I have 5 planes and 2 instructors and all that, and then somebody else comes in and says, I have 1 plane but no classroom and everything, we're just going to do it out of the back of my truck. A minimum standard says you can't do that. You have to follow these minimums to run a business. That's going to, again, elevate the game at your airport, set safety procedures in place for the businesses that are come here, and we'll give them an environment that says, I'm willing to invest this much money and start a business at your airport. Talked about safety. Another one is a safety standard operating procedure, right? It talks about how to operate the gate, what your hours are, how to use the fuel system properly. Again, a very basic document that's easily created that sets standards that you can post on your website. Because when pilots are flying into somewhere unknown, most likely they're going to click on your website, look at it, see what the price of the fuel is, see what your hours are. Oh, they've got a procedure here. Let's take a look at it. And it could talk about, nighttime procedures, daytime procedures, and things like that. So again, as we're taking Spanish Peaks Airfield, elevating it up to Spanish Peaks Airport, creating that entrance, creating the beautification, creating the modernization, that's just one more step to kind of make your airport step above and beyond just average. And that's where we want you to be. as part of the marketing plan that we submitted, I guess a month and a half ago, there's a hangar development checklist that I developed over the last 9 months. And what was happening is airports would call and say, hey, can you help us develop, bring some hangar development in? And I'd go in and I would help them out. And if you remember Jake, the engineer from Bolton and Make that kind of travels with me quite a bit, he asked me, he goes, well, how do you do it? I go, what do you mean? He goes, well, how do you get hangars built? Explain to me. And I kind of was like, well, I don't really know. I kind of just make it happen, right? So he says, you need to create a procedure that anybody can follow, not just you, because you kind of, know it in your heart. It's like riding a bike, right? Once you build one hangar, you kind of know how to build more. So I spent a couple months and created sort of a timeline checklist. It was sort of made specific for Spanish Peaks Airport. And what that does is, if I'm working with a developer, that person generally knows how to build hangars. He knows the process. He has to work with the county. He has to work with the airport. He has to work with the FAA. Sometimes he has to work with CDOT. He has to get planning. There's a sophistication from a developer that they're going to know that. But if you have a rancher who only wants to build one hangar and he calls up the county or the airport or Carl or anybody else and says, hey, I'd really like to build a hangar. You're like, great, we're excited. And then it almost never picks the next step because no one knows what the next step is. This is an easy one that literally says, go brief the airport director, on a napkin, draw your diagram of where you'd like to build your hangar, what you like to do. Then it goes to the next step. Then it goes to the next step, including the forms that the FAA requires. And it's literally a checklist that you can check off. And then there's an attached sort of deeper explanation in the back. So you go, well, 7460-1, what in the world is that? Well, that's a requirement to build anything near an airport. In the back, there's a paragraph or two that talks about where you find it, how you fill it out, what that does. So not only are you making your airport accessible to developers, which is the greatest thing, right? You want 10 hangars built, but you're making it accessible to a single hangar builder, which is still a win. I think if we do these few things in the infrastructure thing, we're going to be ahead of the game. Next slide, Carl. Okay, we're going to continue on communication. Again, what a great community you have. I work with a lot of airports. I was the airport director at an airport where the community absolutely despised the airport. It was a combative nature every meeting we had. We don't see that here. We see general support. We want to capitalize on that, right? We want to get that positive feeling from the community out to the airport. So we want to make sure that we're reaching out to them, talking to them. We want to up that airport website, like I said on slide one, that hangar wait list. You want to have, because that's how people work today, right? They get on their computer, or really nowadays it's their phone. If they want to find any information about the airport, they type in Spanish Peaks Airport, boom, it comes up, there's a website. You've got your hangar development checklist, you've got your events calendar, how much fuel you got. You've got a place where you can, sadly, log complaints about the airport, which I don't expect we get many here, but that's part of that thing you would want to have. And then you also want to have, what events are coming up and how you communicate and make the airport better. All that's tied into how we get more community engagement. And after the tenant meeting, we kind of have a debrief as we're heading up the road and we're talking. And I don't know if the two commissioners that were there remember the young guy, Bryce, was kind of doing our technical stuff, right? And he goes, that was a pretty good meeting. Like, what do you think about it? And I said, it was great. He goes, what do you think about like a school, like doing tours with schools? What a great idea. Because what happens when you bring 25 or 6-year-olds? First of all, my son loves airplanes. He loves dinosaurs. So, right, you get to see both on this one, right? And then who comes with the children? Families, parents. Then they go back and talk to their bigger brothers. You basically create that buzz. And, what I had talked about in the report, what I talked about in my briefing was Boy Scout troops, chambers of commerce, any group that you can go out and have a meeting at the airport is a victory for the airport and for the county. That's going to create positive feelings so that when one or two, just say, dissatisfied citizens do complain about the airport, your vast majority of parents and tenants and citizens are like, no, that's a great airport. Like my kid goes out there for his Boy Scout troop once a year, and we had this pancake breakfast. And so from a non-aviation side, Boy Scouts, anything that can bring people to the airport to show them, and having talked to your tenants, they have such a positive feeling about your airport. They would love being there to be able to show off their planes, maybe even do a flyby. I mean, those things are very easily coordinated. And for young children and ultimately their parents, that's a huge thing. On the tenant side, you just want to have, poker runs. That's where they organize different airports, join in, and you land, you walk out, you grab a poker card, you hit 5 or 6 different airports. The last one, you have a pancake breakfast, and then you play your poker hand and you win trophies. Little mini, I'll call them a fly-in, because an air show is a lot of work and is probably more bang for the buck. But a simple fly-in with a barbecue or a hamburger or a pancake breakfast will bring in 20, 30 airplanes that aren't tenants here. So your tenants will obviously show up. They'll be here. They'll be showing off their planes. And the example I used is, someone will spend $2,000 flying a high dollar plane to come land and be part of your fly-in to win a $3 trophy for, best type of aircraft. And so you have your tenants figure out what the classes are. You buy a couple different trophies and you present them. And it is just a great way to have, again, the more people that touch down at your airport, it just gets amplified through their network, their friends, their pilot people, and you're going to get that buzz about the airport and bring more and more people in. Again, I think just like every place else, commercial development is coming. It's going to come along the I-25 corridor. The airport's a bit north of the city, so it may take long, but as a future sort of long-term look at communication, start building those relationships or strengthen those relationships with those commercial developers who are thinking about building along the I-25 corridor, and sort of wrap in discussions about the airport. What can the airport do to support that business? How can that business support the airport? And sort of have those conversations, because you never know when some developer that's going to build a gas station or a warehouse or whatever might have a plane, might have a family member that has a plane, or just has connections with people that have planes. And it's like, man, I didn't even know that existed. Now we have an opportunity to build along there and connect those two pieces of development and work in conjunction with each other. Next slide. Okay. In the marketing plan, we talk about a coordinated marketing strategy, right? So one of the things we want, and I think you guys are in a great position, is positive leadership from the county. The tenants are good. Dustin's really good as an airport manager, but that's not his full-time job. When people like that development company that's talking about building along the I-24 come forward, we need to have a concerted effort and maybe some talking points from the commissioners, the county staff, that talks about the airport in a positive way, so that, that when, here's a very simple question. Somebody's going to build something and they're in here for something completely different. And, maybe it's the internet lady, right? And she's like, well, how long is your runway? Like, how good, because maybe her brother-in-law has a plane, or like, that's how the system works, right? Like, people just, and if we just knew as a county staff, or maybe had a little cheat card that said, oh, our runway's, X amount of, it's bearing this much weight, she'll go back and take that information and spread that to pilots who have planes and work it. So having the ability to have a strategic approach to communication and marketing is a key point to, again, bring more people out to the airport. And that goes back to that, making sure we have strong communication skills to manage those languages. And again, it's not here right now, but just like every other airport in the country, whether it's 2 years, 5 years, or 10 years, there will be encroachment on the airport, whether it's businesses or housing, probably both. And so as we start that strong communication strategy and that skill now, when that negative approach comes back, you all are armed to be able to defend that with the positive benefits of the airport. And again, then you also have that large network of town businesses, town organizations that are utilizing the airport and speak highly of it. This is the other one that we laughed about after our tenant meeting. We got in the car and young Bryce, he's I think 26 years old. And the joke I made is everybody in the room was probably 45 or older, and probably the average was 65. And I said, I get it. I don't use social media. I hate it. It just drives me crazy. I think it's a mind suck. But we have to use it because that's how this generation and people communicate. So if you could find somebody that actually has some social media savvy, be able to take those pictures of the fly-ins, the pancake breakfasts, the Boy Scouts, create a homepage on, and again, it's, I think, Facebook, TikTok, Instagram. I don't even know if there's other ones. There probably are. Discord, I guess, is something. It sounds funny. We're all kind of chuckling, but that is a key piece to today's marketing strategy and communication strategy, is to be able to communicate with the people who do use that. And it's, I shouldn't say it's simple because I don't know how to do it. I'm assuming it's simple, that you take a picture and you post it on Facebook and Instagram and what other ones, and people see it, and oh, I guess it's a X now, right? And people see it and then they comment on it, and it just kind of grows. And that ultimately, that's what you're trying to do, is create that buzz about positive experiences at the airport. Next slide. Okay. We talked about, hold pancake breakfast and fly-ins. That's key to keeping that energy going. And I would say if we could do, the more events we could do, if you do them monthly, it's gonna peak and then fizzle out. Quarterly, or really probably semi-annually, is about the right mix, because it takes effort to put them on. It takes coordination. We've got weather considerations, right? It's going to be 100 degrees today, and in December it's going to be minus 20. So you kind of want to do a spring and a fall one, but get people out to your airport and let them see what's going on. Talked about the community meetings with the Boy Scouts. And lease rates. Yep. We talked about the leasing policy and the minimum standards, which align with current market values. The reason that's important is, and this is a tough one, right? Because your current tenants don't ever want to see a price increase in their lease ever. Like I got mine, don't raise my rates. But from a development standpoint, they have a hard time coming in and saying, well, we're going to have to charge $1,100 a month because we spent over $500,000 to build this hangar, and the people who have got hangars already are only paying $27 a month or less. So it's a dichotomy where we have to think. So as we move forward, and if you remember from the market analysis one, your rates are extremely low. I think the contracts were written long term. It's very hard to change, but any opportunity, like where a hangar gets sold or anything else, look to make that leasing policy affect that rate, because the higher your rates are, one, you're bringing in more revenue, but that also makes it much easier for a business to come in, and they're not going to get the complaints that, I'm charging $1,000 and this person's got basically a hangar 50 feet from mine, he's paying $10. So, finally, implement an annual tenant and community survey. Survey Monkey, there's a couple other ones that go out there. Keep the pulse, and again, it's annually, so somebody can put it on as a calendar reminder, maybe at the beginning of the year, the end of the year, and just keep your finger on the pulse of what the tenants, mostly, because they're your kind of core customer, but what other people are thinking, what your community is thinking about the airport, because if you see sort of a negative trend, then there's things you can do to get it back on track and continue to move forward with the positive aspect of your airport. Next slide, Carl. All right. I hope I didn't go too long. You can see I get excited about airports. I love airports. I love being around them. With that, I'll open it up to questions from the commissioners or anybody else.
An excellent report. Thank you for putting that together.
Yeah, love it.
I'm on Facebook, you mentioned social media. I'm in a group called Airplanes and Coffee. Don't ask me why I'm in a group. I don't want to plane, I'm not a pilot, but I think they're cool.
Well, you want it, so.
I want,
But you drink coffee though, right?
yes.
Yeah, so, I mean,
absolutely.
But there's always a lot of buzz around stuff. Like,
And then be a blast.
we appreciate the checklist here because we didn't know where to start on.
Yeah, that's a good idea. That's right. Very good.
Jake's not here, so I'll compliment him. I hate to compliment him to his face, but you know, that
You
was a
won't tell
really
him.
smart thing to do because again, I walk out here and you guys get somebody who says, hey, I want to build a hangar, and you're like, well, what now? Now you have a, hey, here, take this. If you need help. And again, as we'll always tell Carl and everybody, if you ever do have a question, please feel free to reach out to us. You know, we're there for you and would love to see a hangar built or multiple hangars built at your airport, the runway extended, and you know, my son's dinosaur sign moved down there. So like, there's a lot of things that you
I
can
love
do.
that idea. It's, no idea what it costs to do that, but I can absolutely see that. It makes sense. I always complain about that sign anyway. Like that's.
Yeah, that's exactly what it looks like, right?
Yeah. Well, I always complain because we didn't put a dot, or they didn't put a .com on it. So it's like, I know it's, people just assume that it's like the stupid. I wasn't part of that one.
Cool.
Cool.
All right.
Excellent.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll endeavor to do some of that for sure. All right. Any other appointments? On the permits, licenses, and public hearings? Nothing there. On action items.
First of you, resolution number 2026-00055 for Midwest Car Body Solutions. So this is for a rapid tag machine for emergency management. The ones we have are in need of replacement. Total cost is $8,577.66. This is what we call the complete package. It includes the printer, the tags themselves, or a starting set of them, and the printer. That's the biggest standard for.
Yep, I'll make a motion to approve requisition 2026-00055 for the Salamander Rapid Tag evac kit.
Second.
First and second, any discussion? Call for the vote.
Commissioner Woodall,
Yes.
Commissioner Chambers,
Yes.
Commissioner Ridley,
Yes.
motion passes. The next I have an amendment to agreement for purchase of services. This is tied to our CWPP. Basically, this change just requires that they maintain insurance. Something that should be included in the original version of it. They did send us their insurance certificate, but we just cleaned up the application form.
Okay. I'll make a motion to approve the amendment to the agreement for purchase of services between Ember Alliance and Huerfano County.
Second.
First and second, any other discussion? Call for the vote.
Commissioner Chambers,
Yes.
Commissioner Woodall,
Yes.
Commissioner Ridley,
Yes.
motion passes. Then I have a commercial elevator maintenance agreement between the county and Morningstar Elevator. This is for 129 Kansas. Morningstar already does our elevator service for the courthouse. And I believe they do as much as they can do at the district center. That was also a little bit different there, but we think this is part of the best way of going about this, to have the same folks do all of our elevators.
Makes sense. I'll make a motion to approve the commercial elevator maintenance agreement between Morningstar Elevator and Huerfano County for 129 Kansas Avenue.
First, second, any discussion? Call for the vote.
Commissioner Woodall,
Yes.
Commissioner Chambers,
Yes.
Commissioner Ridley,
Yes.
motion passes. And next I have for you a Southern Colorado RETAC application from the Movida Fire Protection District. $15,000.
I'll make a motion on this. Can we have some discussion on it? Do I need to make a motion and then discussion?
I mean, if we're following Robert Hill's order, we pick a motion and there's discussion. We don't really do that most of the time, so, you know.
Yeah, I think one thing on discussion wise, I have a memory of how we've been doing it before, and the application, it doesn't even have the proper dates on it. It looks like it's out of date already. To be able to even judge on something like that seems, yeah, I don't know if you want to come up and talk, because if you, because with the application looking like that, I don't see voting for something like that, as opposed to tabling it to either get a actual proper documentation or application for that. And then I know that there's always been kind of an issue between the departments, discussion of who gets what type of a deal, and like to have what's the word? Collaboration between the two departments to verify which way, because it's always a deal of like that, who gets what, and what we've done in the past has been depending on like calls, the amount of calls and things of that nature. And I totally agree with your proposal that you need that item. I completely understand that, because I know I've heard from ambulance drivers all over the place that complain about the roughness of that. So I agree with the need, but in terms of working with as county commissioners for the whole county, you know, I think it'd be good to have a collaboration between you two, the local department and the VEDA department.
I would love to have that collaboration. Problem is that collaboration has not occurred.
Yeah.
I don't know, Mr. Sportler, if you recall the last time I was here discussing RETAC grants, with Nikki Schmidt, our chairman of the board for the VEDA. At that time, one of the commissioners indicated that they felt that Spanish Peaks was more entitled to those funds than Levita, simply based on call volume. And yeah, they run a lot more calls than we do, but the issue is that Levita is in the county. We're one of two agencies that provide EMS services. We have the same needs as far as equipment upkeep, as far as supplies, buying medications and all the supplies that go along. We don't necessarily use as much in the same period of time as they do. However, all of that stuff has expiration dates. And in the medical community, they only allow 1 year of time to use a particular piece of equipment or medication. Then it has to be replaced, whether you use it or you don't. Those costs are the same. The position that Levita Fire Protection District has taken on this particular application, and if I may, let me back up a minute regarding the application. Oh, yes, I'm Dave Mallard.
Oh, sorry. Said that before, I forgot it.
I'm the EMS director for the Levita Fire Protection District.
Thank you.
The application itself is a document that is produced by the RETAC. I questioned that because what I was told by the coordinator from RETAC is to go to their website, you know, and print out the application form and fill it out. And I mentioned to him that the dates, what I think was 2019, 2020 or whatever's on there. And he said, "Oh, don't worry about the dates." He said, that's just a form. Just don't worry about the dates. So I said, well, okay, but there's no way for me to, it's a PDF document, so I can't change it, fix it, or anything else. I'd have to recreate it. That's really not something that I should have to do. But in any case, that's the reason that those dates on there are the way they are, is because that was the direction I was given by the RETAC to use that application for, and not worry about the dates. In any case, while Spanish Peaks does respond to more calls on an annual basis than Levita Fire, we have a pretty large district as well. And of course, as we all know, our district population increases, I would say at least twofold, if not 3 times every year, from about the 1st of May through roughly the 1st of October. We more than double in population. Consequently, we run more calls during the summer because all of our chair folks are in from Texas and Oklahoma. And as the population gets older, they require more services. So all of that being said, we have an ambulance that is in good shape, other than the fact that it requires some attention to the suspension on it, because it is especially, and I'm not making any judgments on county roads, but we all know county roads are rough. I mean, even if they're in the best shape. And when you're attending to a patient in the back of that ambulance and not even able to write because it's so rough, and the patient complains, especially if they've got a broken bone or, or having some kind of pain, and then bouncing along the road. And fortunately now Highway 160 has been improved tremendously, so that helps. But that doesn't negate the need for this upgrade. Considering the fact that an ambulance these days is, anywhere from $150,000 to $500,000, depending on what you want to look at, this is a pretty cheap investment to upgrade this unit that can continue to be used without any issue going forward for many years. So we're not spending taxpayer dollars through, CDPHE grants or even out of our own coffers from the revenue we receive from our taxpayers to upgrade an ambulance or to improve an ambulance. So that was one of the bases for this proposal. The fact that Spanish Peaks runs more calls, I think because there's 2 agencies, there's a set amount of money that's given to the county on an annual basis. Pretty easy to divide that up. At worst case, we're entitled, in our belief, 50% of that, at least. And I don't know the financials of the hospital, and that's none of my business really. But the fact is, just common sense tells you that they have multiple more ways of funding their service than we do. We get, as you know, our tax base, and now we have a little stipend that sales tax proposal that was passed. But that's just that's just an assistance to improve our financial status. That does not give us tons of money. And I realize that the hospital district is not flush either, but they have more opportunity because they have 3/4 of the county tax base revenue that they're receiving. And we have basically 25%. Based on that, we still have the same needs. We still have the same needs of maintenance, supplies, and operation. So my position is that I took a stab at the dark with this. The project to upgrade this ambulance to get it functional and operable is $15,000. It's going to be right at real close, within a few bucks of being $15,000. And I will tell you, and I spoke to Robert this morning from the emergency management office, and he did some comparisons on costs. And the fact is that Levita has not received in some years has not received a penny from this grant. In most years, we've received just a fraction, a very small fraction, roughly maybe 15–20% of those funds. And again, our costs are the same as far as maintenance and that stuff. So we've always been kind of behind the power curve on that. So that's the best I can explain at this point. And spoken with Commissioner Chamberlain about this and many times as well. And just making our point. That's why we are requesting what we're requesting.
Is July 1st the actual due date for this?
I'm sorry?
Is July 1st the actual due date for the application?
No, it has to be submitted to the RETAC prior to the meeting, which is the 21st of July, for consideration by the RETAC.
Has to be submitted by
December 15th.
Well, that's different information than I received. I was told by the RETAC coordinator that it had to be submitted to them by the 21st of July prior to the 21st for process to continue through RETAC.
Is there a way we could sit down with those countries and we would talk about what would be a more equitable way to distribute the funds?
I have no issue with that, but again, I'm going to resubmit my proposal that at least we should be entitled to 50%. The other part of that is I'm willing to negotiate. 1 year, their needs may be higher than ours. The next year, ours may be higher than theirs. You know, if we're able to operate that way and communicate and talk about it, then that's fine. But that hasn't been the case. Basically, it's been, you get 80% Spanish Peaks, Levita, you get roughly 20%, and that's it. That's all you get. So that's the way it's been operating for a period of time. And I don't think that, you know, we're serving the same people. We're serving your constituents in the county, and we'll go anywhere in the county. If we're asked to provide mutual aid service in the county, it's provided that we have the staffing to support that, knowing that we're volunteer as opposed to a paid service, full-time employees. And we have responded to many, many mutual aid calls. We've been to Dart, we've been to Walsenburg, we've been to the communities down south, Silver Spurs and all those places. So we're willing to do that, and we participate in the county as an agency, and we have the same medical director. So that part is easy, you know. But in answering your question, yeah, I'm happy to sit down with them, and you as a group. I have no issue, but
Yeah, I think communication between the two would be great.
yes, it
We
would.
haven't come to an
Yes, it
agreement, and in a perfect world, to be able to do it either or, in certain needs, like something like this would be a great option. But I think that because I was here when they did the call volume, and we did split it up via 2/3 versus the 1/3 when the total amount of calls, and I know that's I think that was the last one that we did.
Yeah, and again, just to reiterate, our position from the board standpoint, my board, I'm speaking on their behalf at the moment, is they don't feel that that's fair and need to provide. And I've been doing this for a really long time. It just doesn't seem appropriate that we're not getting our portion. As an example, I'll be quiet here in a minute, but this project, $15,000 project, if we were to get the $3,000 or $3,500 that we've received in the past, that would do nothing about this project at home. It would do nothing, because then it's incumbent on Levita then to cover the remainder of the cost if we continue with that project. So the whole project is based on this. We do not spend any money on anything until we know that we've got the money. Others may do things differently. I don't know. But I know that unless we have grant money or money somewhere in our coffers or whatever to fund the project, it doesn't happen. So what I'm saying to you is if we're not allowed to get this money, this project's over and done with, and we'll have to go a different avenue. But that's what it goes.
Would you be okay with, tabling it and sitting down Spanish Streets to discuss this with the board?
Just the name and time and the place.
Sounds like the due date may be December, at the end of this month, so maybe sooner rather than later.
I can make a phone call and confirm that, but
It'd be nice to know. Can you actually, if you're speaking, can you come up and say your name for the record? So we can get people online and they can hear it as well.
Matthew Whitley, the EMS director for Spanish San Diego.
And actually say what you said before.
So I've been submitting it the past 2 years and it's been December 15th and I've been sitting in all the RETAC meetings. They do also have this form. It's in the updated packets. So there is a newer form with the new date on it.
So if you're okay with tabling this and then sitting down, doing these, come up with and assess the needs of both communities. That would.
Sure.
And if I could point out one thing just from our side, it's not that the whole half is, so we cover Huerfano and Gardner. We're kind of two EMS agencies and we do all the transfers out of the hospital as well. So just, that's a lot of our call volume. But half of our calls, so say we had 1,500 calls last year, I believe. Half of those were refusals that we get zero money for. So, I mean, our call volume is about 500 to 700 of what we actually get paid for.
and on average, that's normal. Are the same with us. 50% of our calls for service are refusals, no transports.
And then they call 2 days later.
Yeah.
Need the ambulance. If they didn't
It's
do
been
it.
going on for 2 days, yeah. And then 3 and 1.
Yeah, exactly.
That's,
But I think that's just kind of where the numbers came from, up with 2/3 is we're our county, we're also Gardner and the transfer service. So just a lot of wear and tear on the vehicles. And I understand the liquid springs, we would love those as well. They're just not affordable, but most services don't have them. But they do also have grants and vehicle grants that you can do every year. Like we put in for new ambulance last year, we didn't get it. But something like that would probably pass, just 'cause it's not quite the amount of money. So those are kind of the services that would better benefit something like liquid springs versus this, which is the 50,000 for kind of community stuff. That's just kind of my point of view for this.
This is why I think we need to sit down together.
Yeah, absolutely.
Can we do this in the form of a workshop?
Yeah, so, 2 things. One, maybe next week we do a workshop. I think we're gonna start CBOE here soon, but so 1 o'clock next Tuesday.
I'll see if I can do some stuff around you if I have somebody.
If I have more information, you want to send me an email or send me over an email for your availability, if that works. And that way we can have a workshop, we can start to work with some of these issues.
Yeah, absolutely.
if I could, make sure, I need to make a phone call and confirm that 21st, which is we're having our recheck meeting, is not when this has to be submitted and to them, because if it is, based on the information I was given, that would work. Yeah, well,
I'll send a text real quick.
Yeah, if we can find that out, just get back to me as soon as possible, we can schedule something as soon as need be. So, yeah.
Cool.
Um,
Okay.
Is the amount always $15,000? That's what I remember, but I'm not sure.
There's been a couple of times where it was 20,000, but that funding went back down to 15. So the past few years it has been 15. I think 3 years ago it was 20,000.
Okay.
But this year it is 15 again.
Excellent.
And just one little request for me, if you could, at the meeting, ask if they could update the application stuff on the website to make it.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah,
That'd be
Like I
awesome.
said, I was going on the direction of the tech coordinator, so he told me where to go and did it. Said, don't worry about the dates. So I will straighten that out.
All right, we'll set up for next week.
Thank you guys for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Real quick, just one little suggestion. When I worked at the school district, we had groups that shared grants also. And what they would do is for the larger purchases, 1 year, their group would get the full funds, the next year was you, and that way you could budget and make those bigger
Mhm.
purchases. So that's something for you guys to discuss. Maybe
Yeah,
You
I'm
can do that.
totally on board with that.
Or, you know, this year we're covering this income coming in next year too, and put it on the before.
I wholeheartedly agree. Thank you.
That, and like motion to table this, further discussion.
Second?
First and second, and call for the vote.
Commissioner Chamberlain,
Yes.
Commissioner Wood,
Yes.
Yes.
motion passes. So we bring this up after our meeting.
Or we continue on this computer, off the dice, and we get it.
Oh, okay.
Give me a second.
Yeah, exactly. We need the elevator music. Sorry. We don't have it. We're not that high tech. Actually, I thought Jim would have throw in some music there. Oh, yeah.
Hold on, you said, so.
Okay, I knew it. I knew it.
I am.
I'm a little concerned about what he's gonna bring up, right? Actually, very concerned about it.
Oh, here's-
Maybe we were saved by that. We were saved by that. There you go. There we go.
The chairman said he wanted elevator music, he gets elevator music.
There you go. Okay, thank you for that musical interlude, Jim.
All right, next I have for you a draft letter to the city of Walsenburg regarding the Walsenburg wild waters. So this letter basically just says that the county is interested in establishing a countywide park system. And we know that wild waters is a community priority. So we want to see if there's room to collaborate there.
Yep. I'll make a motion to approve the letter to the city of Walsenburg on Walsenburg Wild Waters. Proposal.
First and second, any discussion? Call for the vote.
Commissioner Will,
Yes.
Commissioner Chamberlain.
Yes.
Yes.
Motion passes. All right, so at least I have you a grant application, request to approve a grant application to the Edward Burns Memorial Justice Assistance Grant Program in the amount of $20,000. This is to fund a feasibility study for replacing the county jail, including examining the possibility of a regional jail. Our current facility is in need of replacement severely. We've tried to keep up with the cost and we've tried to catch back up, like you say, over the last few years, with the backlog maintenance for the facility. Even with that, I think the cost to get back up to a real state of good repair is about half the cost or so to replace it. So there's the question, should we replace it? I think we still need to move forward with our plans to fix the jail this year. But we want to move to a place where we can at least hold people again. Like right now, I'm not so comfortable having it in that facility. But we come with a long-term plan here.
I'll make a motion to approve the application to the Justice Assistant Grant Program in the amount of $2,000.
Second.
First and second, any discussion? Call for the vote.
Commissioner Kimball,
Yes.
Commissioner Ware,
Yes.
Terrence Burger,
Yes.
motion passes.
Okay, on correspondence.
All right, clerk, we have a technical update from TTSI, cybersecurity insights, third-party risks. I have your candidate property insurance monthly report, and then your CWCP, your workers' compensation monthly report. Which you, that is in correspondence.
Okay. On public comment, each participant will have up to 3 minutes for the public comment. Just address the board through the chair. It's not a give and take, but we're just listening to what the community wants and has concerns with. First up is Mr. Pacheco.
That's Ronald James Pacheco. Right now, it's a notice of illegal intervention and demand for accounting, statement of facts and discovery. This serves a formal notice that a forensic audit of the Huerfano County land and water records have uncovered a systematic administration erasure of the Pacheco family legacy. The baseline of 0 for the recorded testimony of Explorer Rufus Sage, 1841 to 1844 in Rocky Mountain Life, page 312. The land in this jurisdiction was documented as a sterile waste and inhabitable at this time. Huerfano County and the Cucheras Ditch did not exist. The creation of equity in 1860, the Pacheco family acting under the authority of the 1835 Moore Grant, physically established the Pacheco Ditch. This infrastructure turned a sterile waste into habitable land. The administration fraud, subsequently county records intentionally relabeled the Pacheco Ditch as the Cucheras Ditch and assigned priority to third parties who were not present at the 1860 apparition date. Itemization of liabilities. I am hereby demanding a full accounting of a compensation for the following administration errors: depth of seniority, value of the 1860 senior water priority diverted under the Cucheras aliases for over 150 years, erasure of title, loss of land value resulting from the county's failure to recognize the 1835 Moore Grant, possessionary rights protected by the Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo, unjust enrichment, all tax revenues and utility fees collected by the county on land made habitable solely by Pacheco built infrastructure. Legacy. Damages for the international removal of the Pacheco name from the official life link of this community. Demand for remedy. I demand that the county immediately correct the water degrees to reflect the Pacheco ditch. Excuse me. Correct the water degrees to reflect the Pacheco ditch as the original structure name. Provide a settlement offer for the unauthorized taking of the 1860 water priority.
Okay, time's up.
Okay, thank you very much. My last one was recognize the Pacheco Estate superior claim to all land patents currently under dispute in my case 2023, as well as one in Denver. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, anyone online? Okay. On to staff reports. Any addition? Thank you, guys.
I did it that date, so it opens in July and basically closes like that. The application is open in July.
Oh, okay.
I do.
So good. Thanks, Jason.
All right, so my report, list of open positions, and so director will have those interviews next Monday. But the last problem is that we'll have, it's open until filled. Operator Road and Bridge closed yesterday. KSA for Human Services closes next Monday, and then Central Human Services closes until about 27. I expect either this week or next week we'll release the Gardner Sewer Replacement Project. Our information to bid for that. I'll give you my activities through not this past week, but the week before. To include that, I did include a administrator's report for the last meeting, but
Just this.
it's
I was amazed when I looked at how many days the fire had been going. At that time, it was like 11 days. And I thought, there's no way. It's got to be weeks. There's no way. I'm surprised.
feels like 2 years.
Yeah. Okay. Nothing from county attorney. Or I was assuming whatever.
Yeah, we will probably have the next session for county attorney in the next.
Okay. Very good. And we have a public works workshop 15 minutes ago. And so, and a housing regs workshop at 1 o'clock. So I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion to adjourn.
First and second, call for the vote.
Commissioner Chairman,
Yes.
Commissioner
Yes.
Hansberry.
Yes. We are now adjourned. 11:17. Thank you, Hannah.